In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, the light of 1,000 stars reflected on walls made of silver stone. Dozens of alien species had gathered, each one with strange shapes and powerful bodies. Some had claws sharper than steel, others had thick armor skin, and some even had wings that spread across the chamber. They all looked toward the center, where a hologram of a human appeared. The aliens laughed, their voices echoing across the chamber. To them, the image of a human was a joke. No claws. No armor. No deadly fangs. Just soft skin, weak muscles, and fragile bones. They called humans a mistake of evolution, a species unfit for the galaxy. One alien with golden scales stood tall and raised his claw. He told the others that humans were nothing but fragile animals, dependent on machines and luck. Another alien with 6 glowing eyes mocked the way humans walked upright with thin legs that could break with a single hit. The chamber filled with laughter. Even the high counselors, leaders of great empires, joined the mockery. In their eyes, humans were weak prey pretending to be hunters. But not everyone in the hall agreed. A silent figure watched from the corner. He was a historian from a species known for recording wars. He had studied humans, their strange ways of survival, their stubbornness to keep fighting even when defeat seemed certain. He did not laugh. Instead, he whispered to himself that the galaxy would one day see what humans were truly made of. Far away on a distant planet, a test was about to begin. The Council wanted proof that humans had no place in galactic warfare. They brought a single human soldier to a training arena, a place where champions of alien races tested their strength. The soldier stood alone in the middle of the arena. Around him, towering alien warriors gathered, each one larger, stronger, and covered in natural weapons. The human had no claws, no armor, no glowing eyes. He only had his body and a simple uniform. The audience roared with laughter. They expected the fight to end quickly. Some even placed bets on how many seconds the human would last. The gates opened, and the first alien champion entered. His body was covered in black plates, his arms like hammers, and his roar shook the walls. He charged at the human, ready to smash him into the ground. But the human did not run. He moved aside with surprising speed, his eyes locked on every detail of the enemy. He studied the alien's movements, the timing of his steps, the weight of his arms. For a moment, the audience stopped laughing. The human was still standing. The champion tried again, swinging his heavy fists, but the human dodged once more. This time he struck back, aiming at a weak spot in the alien's armor, a joint between plates that no one else had ever noticed. The alien roared in pain and fell to his knees. Gasps filled the arena. The counselors leaned forward in their seats. How did a fragile human bring down a warrior with a single strike? The historian in the shadows nodded slowly. He had seen this before in records of ancient battles. Humans had a way of using something no one else valued. It was not claws, not armor, not fangs. It was something else. The next challenger entered, this one faster, with sharp claws and blazing eyes. Again, the human stood calm. He studied, he calculated, he moved with purpose. The fight was not about brute strength. It was about something hidden inside the human body, something the galaxy had overlooked. Slowly, one by one, the alien warriors fell. The laughter of the audience died. Silence took over as the human kept standing. Whispers spread through the hall. What was happening? How could a species without weapons of nature win against the strongest of the galaxy? The answer was close, but not yet clear. The historian smiled as if he knew the secret. The human raised his head, sweat dripping, chest rising and falling, but his eyes burning with focus. He looked small in the arena, yet he stood taller than all those who had mocked him. The council leader, his golden scales shining under the light, rose to his feet. His voice carried across the chamber. He asked the question on everyone's mind: what body part was this human using? What hidden strength had they missed? The aliens leaned closer, their eyes wide, waiting for the answer. The suspense hung in the air, heavy and sharp like a blade about to strike. The human did not speak. He only raised his hand slowly, as if to remind the galaxy that the fight was not over. Something about him unsettled every warrior in that place. It was not the claws, not the armor, not the teeth. It was something deeper, something that made humans dangerous in ways no one had imagined. And so the laughter ended. In its place grew a silent fear. The galaxy had mocked humans for centuries, but on this day, inside the arena, they saw the first glimpse of the truth. A truth that would change everything. The arena was no longer filled with laughter. The same voices that had mocked the human now whispered in confusion. Alien leaders leaned forward in their seats, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The human soldier, standing with nothing but his own body, had defeated not one but several alien champions. No natural weapons. No shining armor. No deadly claws. Only strange, precise movements that struck at the right place, at the right time. In the council chamber above the arena, alien scientists began their analysis. They were eager to prove that the victory was only luck. They studied the human through glowing screens and strange scanners. They measured his muscles, his bones, and his heartbeat. They compared him with their own species. To them, humans looked weak. Their muscles were smaller, their bones lighter, their skin soft and easy to tear. One alien scientist hissed with anger. He said there was no logical reason for a human to win. Another scientist agreed and argued that maybe the alien warriors had held back. The council did not believe this. The champions never held back. They fought to show their strength. In the lower arena, the human soldier was ordered to face more challenges. This time the council wanted to remove all doubts. 3 alien fighters entered at once, each from a different race. The crowd roared with excitement, expecting the human to finally fall. The first had wings that cut through the air, sharp like blades. The second was tall, covered in thick armor scales. The third was small but moved with lightning speed, his claws glowing with venom. The human looked at them calmly. His chest rose and fell as he breathed, eyes sharp and unblinking. When the fight began, he did not rush. Instead, he waited. The winged alien attacked first, slicing the air, but the human rolled aside and used the alien's own momentum against him, pulling him down with a simple twist. The armored alien charged next, shaking the ground with heavy steps. The human studied him for just a second before striking at a weak point between his neck and chest. The giant stumbled backward. The fast alien came in last, claws flashing, but the human moved with perfect timing, dodging the strikes and striking back with controlled force. The arena went silent again. The 3 fighters lay defeated. The human still stood. The council leader rose to his feet, his golden scales glowing in the light. He demanded an explanation from the scientists. How could a creature with such fragile parts defeat their best warriors? The scientists stuttered. They pointed to the human's arms, his hands, his eyes, his brain. None of them could agree. One said the eyes allowed him to see weak spots. Another said the hands gave him control. A third insisted it was the human brain, calculating strategies with speed no alien could match. But none of them were sure. The historian, still watching from the shadows, finally spoke. He reminded the council of the old records, of wars on Earth where humans faced beasts far larger and stronger than them. He explained that humans had always been weak in body but powerful in another way. They used their bodies differently. They learned. They adapted. They found weaknesses where others saw none. His voice echoed in the chamber, calm but certain. The council leader silenced him and ordered more tests. He wanted proof, not stories. The human was taken into a new chamber, this one not an arena but a laboratory. Strange machines surrounded him, glowing with alien energy. The scientists tested his reaction speed, his memory, his strength, his ability to solve problems. What they saw unsettled them even more. The human's body was not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most durable. But his ability to adapt, to change, to learn quickly, was unmatched. In minutes he learned how to solve puzzles that took alien computers hours. In hours he learned to copy movements that alien fighters had trained for years. The scientists argued again. One called it the power of the brain. Another said it was the power of the hands. A third whispered that it was both, working together. Still, no one could say it with certainty. Meanwhile, word of the human spread across the council chambers. Alien soldiers whispered in the halls. Leaders questioned if their mockery had been wrong. For centuries they had believed humans were nothing but fragile animals. But now, for the first time, doubt spread among them. The council leader announced one final test. If the human passed, then the galaxy would have to admit that humans were more than a weak species. The test would be dangerous, designed not only to challenge the body but also the mind. The arena was prepared, larger than before, filled with obstacles, traps, and weapons. The champions of 5 different races would enter together. The human would face them alone. As the gates began to open, the historian's voice whispered once again, almost like a warning. He said the galaxy laughed at humans because they could not see the truth. But when that truth was revealed, the galaxy itself would change forever. The crowd grew silent. The warriors stepped forward. The human took a deep breath, his eyes burning with focus. Suspense filled the air. Everyone waited to see which body part, which hidden strength, would make the difference this time. The gates of the grand arena opened with a heavy sound, echoing through the stone walls. Dust rose from the ground as 5 alien champions entered together. Each one was from a different race, each one powerful in their own way. The crowd of thousands shouted and cheered, expecting a violent end. This time, they believed, the fragile human would not survive. The first warrior had skin like metal, shining under the bright lights. His body was like living armor. The second was tall and fast, his arms ending in long blades. The third was a creature with 4 eyes, able to see in every direction, his movements unpredictable. The fourth had a massive tail, strong enough to crush stone. And the fifth, perhaps the most dangerous, was a silent assassin whose claws dripped with poison. Together, they looked unstoppable. The human stood in the center, small compared to the giants surrounding him. His face was calm, his breathing steady. He did not show fear, though his enemies towered over him. The crowd waited for him to fall. Many shouted that the fight would be over in seconds. The armored alien attacked first, charging like a wall of steel. His heavy steps shook the arena. The human did not resist with brute strength. Instead, he moved aside at the last moment, letting the alien crash into the stone pillar behind him. The ground shook as cracks spread across the arena floor. The audience gasped. Before the armored alien could recover, the bladed warrior rushed forward. His arms swung like deadly swords, cutting the air. The human ducked, rolled, and struck back, not at the blades, but at the wrist joint, a small weak point hidden from normal sight. The blade slipped, the warrior cried in pain, and the crowd fell silent again. The 4-eyed alien tried to trap the human with his perfect vision, predicting every move. But the human used deception. He pretended to move left, then turned right. He pretended to strike high, then attacked low. Even with 4 eyes, the alien was confused. He stumbled and fell to the ground, defeated not by strength but by trickery. The 4th warrior swung his massive tail, aiming to crush the human in a single blow. Dust flew everywhere. But the human moved with precision, letting the tail pass inches away, then striking at the joint near the base. The great tail slammed into the ground uselessly, leaving the warrior stunned. Finally, the silent assassin leapt forward, claws glowing with venom. The crowd held their breath. This one was fast, deadly, and quiet. But the human was ready. He caught the assassin's arm mid-attack, twisted it, and used the enemy's own momentum to throw him against the wall. The poison claws scraped stone instead of flesh. In less than minutes, 5 powerful champions lay defeated around the human. The arena was silent. The same aliens who once laughed could no longer find their voices. Even the council leaders stared in disbelief. The council leader with golden scales rose again. His voice was sharp, filled with both anger and confusion. He demanded an answer. He shouted at the scientists, asking how a human could possibly do this. The scientists checked their data again and again. They could not explain it with strength or speed. The human's body was weaker than all 5 opponents. Yet somehow, he had turned weakness into victory. One scientist trembled as he spoke. He said the secret might be in the human brain, which learned and adapted faster than they thought possible. Another argued it was in the hands, able to strike with precision, to create movements no alien warrior could copy. A third suggested it was both brain and hands working together in perfect unity. But no one dared to confirm. The historian stepped forward again, his voice calm but powerful. He reminded the council that for thousands of years, humans on Earth faced beasts larger, faster, and deadlier than themselves. And yet humans had survived. Not because of armor or claws, but because of something else. Something hidden that other species had never valued. The crowd turned to the human, waiting for him to reveal the answer. But he did not speak. Instead, he raised his hands slowly, showing them to the galaxy. They were scarred, strong, and steady. His eyes burned with focus, his brain calculating every moment. Together, they formed the secret that the galaxy had ignored. The golden-scaled leader narrowed his eyes. For the first time, fear mixed with anger in his voice. He ordered that the human be taken to the War Council. If what they had seen was true, then this single fragile creature might hold the power to change galactic balance. The soldiers dragged the human away, but not as a prisoner. This time, the aliens looked at him with respect. Some even bowed their heads slightly, as if admitting something they could not yet say. The historian whispered again, almost like a prophecy. He said the galaxy laughed at humans because they never understood the value of their strange body parts. But now, after these battles, the galaxy had begun to see. And once they fully realized the truth, nothing would ever be the same. The human walked out of the arena, silent but unbroken. Behind him, the strongest warriors of alien empires lay defeated. The suspense grew heavier. The galaxy waited for the revelation of which body part truly gave humans their power. The arena stood silent long after the human was led away. Broken pillars and fallen champions remained as proof of what had happened. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. They carried a single question: how had a fragile human defeated warriors from the strongest races? In the High Council chamber, leaders of many alien empires gathered in secret. Their voices echoed through the room, filled with confusion and anger. Some called the human a danger to galactic order. Others argued that he was only one soldier, and that humans as a species were still weak. But deep inside, none of them believed their own words. The image of the human standing tall over 5 fallen champions had burned into their minds. The scientists presented their reports. They showed recordings of the fights, slowed down to every detail. They highlighted how the human's eyes locked onto weaknesses, how his brain calculated faster than their computers, how his hands delivered strikes with perfect accuracy. One scientist whispered that humans possessed something no alien had, a connection between brain and hands that turned thought into action faster than any species they knew. Another scientist disagreed, saying it was only adaptability, the ability to learn and evolve in seconds. But none of them could deny the truth: the human had done the impossible. Meanwhile, in the holding chamber, the human soldier sat quietly. He was not chained, but guards stood around him with weapons ready. He seemed calm, almost as if he had expected all of this. His hands rested on his knees, his eyes fixed on the floor. The historian entered and stood across from him. Unlike the others, the historian did not see a fragile creature. He saw something greater. He spoke softly, telling the human that he had changed the galaxy without even speaking a word. The human looked up. His face was tired but determined. He did not thank the historian. He did not boast of victory. He only said that humans had always been underestimated, even on their own world. He explained how humans had survived ice ages, predators, and endless wars. Not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to stop learning, adapting, and fighting. The historian nodded, knowing these words would soon reach the ears of every council leader. That night, the council called the human before them once more. He stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by powerful rulers and warriors from across the galaxy. The golden-scaled leader, his voice heavy with authority, demanded answers. He asked the human what gave his kind such strange strength. Was it the brain? Was it the hands? Was it something else entirely? The human did not answer directly. Instead, he raised his scarred hands again, showing them to the council. He tapped his head, then clenched his fists. The message was simple. The brain to see, the hands to act. Together they created power greater than any claw, fang, or armor. The council chamber filled with murmurs. Many leaders did not want to believe it. To admit such a thing meant admitting that humans were more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Yet the proof was already before their eyes. The galaxy had laughed at humans for centuries, but now, those same leaders were silent. To test the truth further, the council made a decision. They would send the human into a real war, not a controlled arena. A frontier colony was under attack by a hostile alien empire, one known for brutal conquests. The council declared that the human would be sent with a small team, nothing more. If he survived and succeeded, then they would have to accept what they had seen. If he failed, then the laughter would return. The historian protested, saying this was not a test but an execution. But the golden-scaled leader silenced him. He wanted proof that could not be denied. The human accepted the mission without hesitation. He did not ask for more weapons or soldiers. He only asked for time to prepare. For 2 days, he worked in silence. He studied maps, enemy patterns, and resources. He crafted simple tools with his own hands, using scraps that the aliens considered worthless. The guards who watched him whispered among themselves, unsettled by his quiet focus. When the day came, the human boarded a small ship with only a handful of alien volunteers. None of them believed they would survive, but something in the human's eyes kept them from running away. His calm, sharp gaze carried a strange weight, as if he already saw the path to victory. The ship left the council world and vanished into the stars. Behind them, the council chamber was filled with silence. Some leaders hoped the human would fail, so they could return to their laughter. Others feared that he would succeed, for that would mean the balance of power in the galaxy was about to change forever. The historian stood apart from them all. He did not hope, and he did not fear. He simply knew. He whispered to himself that the galaxy was witnessing the beginning of something it could not stop. A single human had already shaken the order of empires. What would happen when the rest of humanity revealed their strength? And so, the galaxy waited. Would the fragile human fall in battle, proving the laughter was right? Or would he rise once more, showing the galaxy that humans carried a secret hidden in plain sight, a secret that could not be mocked any longer? The human ship cut through the stars, heading toward the war-torn frontier colony. Inside, silence filled the small cabin. The alien volunteers kept their distance, whispering among themselves. They wondered why they had agreed to follow him. He was smaller, weaker, without claws or armor. Yet when they looked into his eyes, they felt something they could not explain. It was not strength of body. It was strength of will. The colony came into view, glowing red under the fires of war. The enemy empire, known for its cruelty, had already destroyed most defenses. Alien civilians screamed as warships filled the skies. The few soldiers left on the ground were being hunted by giant machines that stomped through the streets. For the alien volunteers, this looked like certain death. For the human, it looked like a challenge. As soon as they landed, the human took charge. He did not shout, but his voice carried weight. He told the volunteers to gather supplies, anything they could find. Wires, metal scraps, fuel cells, even broken weapons. The aliens hesitated, confused. These were useless objects, trash. But the human's sharp gaze forced them to obey. Within hours, the human transformed scraps into tools. Broken rifles became traps. Fuel cells became explosives. Metal wires became snares that could topple enemy machines. The aliens watched in shock. Their own technology was more advanced, yet they had never thought of using it this way. The human's brain saw possibilities they had ignored. His hands turned ideas into reality. When the enemy patrols entered the ruins, they were met with chaos. Traps exploded under their feet. Machines were lured into ambushes. Soldiers who thought the colony was already theirs suddenly fell into confusion. The small team of volunteers, guided by the human, struck like shadows, disappearing before the enemy could react. News spread quickly across the colony. Survivors whispered about a strange warrior leading resistance. They said he had no claws, no armor, but his mind was sharper than any blade. They said his hands built weapons out of nothing. Soon, civilians joined the fight, following his plans. What began as a hopeless defense turned into organized resistance. The enemy empire grew furious. Their commanders could not understand how a handful of fighters were turning the tide. They sent larger forces, stronger machines, deadlier weapons. Each time, the human adapted. He changed tactics, created new traps, and used the enemy's strength against them. One night, while the fires of battle burned around the colony, an alien volunteer asked the human why he fought so hard. The war was not his. The colony was not his home. The human looked at him and simply said, "Because if I stop, they win." His voice was calm, but in his eyes burned the unshakable fire of survival. The volunteer had fought in many wars, but he had never seen such determination in any creature before. Days turned into weeks, and the impossible happened. The enemy empire began to retreat. Their machines were destroyed, their soldiers demoralized. The colony that was meant to fall became a symbol of resistance. And at the center of it all stood the human, scarred, tired, but unbroken. Back in the council chamber, reports of the battles arrived. At first, the leaders refused to believe them. But video recordings left no doubt. They saw the human building weapons from scraps, leading civilians into victory, and defeating armies far stronger than his own. The council chamber, once filled with laughter, was now filled with silence and unease. The golden-scaled leader clenched his fists. He could no longer deny what was clear. Humans possessed something dangerous, something no other species had. They turned weakness into strength. They used their brains and hands together in ways that defied logic. They created hope where none existed. The historian smiled quietly. He had seen this coming. He reminded the council of his words. Humans were underestimated, but their true strength was only beginning to show. If one soldier could change the fate of a colony, what would happen if the galaxy faced the entire human race? The council argued late into the night. Some demanded that humans be destroyed before they grew too powerful. Others said they should be allied with, not fought against. But none of them dared to laugh anymore. The laughter that once filled the chamber had died forever. Meanwhile, in the colony, the human stood at the top of a ruined tower, watching the stars. His body was exhausted, his uniform torn, but his spirit was unbroken. The aliens who once doubted him now stood at his side, calling him commander. They looked at him with respect, even awe. The human did not smile. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of what humans could do. Soon, they would see much more. The enemy empire had been defeated here, but greater challenges were coming. He clenched his fists, his scarred hands glowing in the firelight. The same hands that had built, fought, and created victory where none should exist. The historian's words echoed once more, carried like a prophecy. They laughed at humans. But now they will learn. They will all learn. The fires of the colony burned low as the war ended. Smoke rose into the night sky, and the stars shone above like silent witnesses. The human stood among the ruins, his body wounded, his clothes torn, but his spirit unbroken. Around him stood the aliens who had once doubted him. Now they looked at him with respect, calling him leader, savior, and warrior. For them, the battle was over. But for the human, it was only the beginning. Far away, in the council chamber of the galaxy, the leaders gathered once more. Reports of the human victory had shaken every empire. Some leaders shouted that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to grow. Others argued that humans were the future, that their strength was not in claws or armor but in something greater. The golden-scaled leader slammed his fist on the table, demanding silence. He declared that the galaxy must decide, to fight humans before it was too late, or to stand with them and accept their rise. The historian stepped forward. His voice was calm, but every word struck with the weight of truth. He reminded them that they had laughed at humans, mocked their fragile bodies, and called them weak. But in the arena, in the laboratory, and now in war, humans had proven something none of them could deny. Their true weapon was not a single body part, but the connection of mind and hands. The brain to see, the hands to act, and the will to never surrender. Together, these made humans unstoppable. The chamber was filled with silence. For the first time, alien leaders looked uneasy. They realized that their greatest mistake had been laughter. By mocking humans, they had ignored the most dangerous weapon the galaxy had ever seen. Not claws, not fangs, not armor, but creativity, adaptability, and unbreakable will. Back on the colony, the human prepared to return to space. The aliens who followed him begged to stay at his side, to fight under his command. They had seen the truth with their own eyes. One of them, a soldier who once laughed at him, now bowed deeply and said, "We thought you were weak. But you are stronger than all of us." The human only shook his head. His voice was quiet, but it carried like thunder, "We are not stronger. We are different." And that difference will change everything. When the ship lifted from the colony, a new story began to spread across the galaxy. Not a story of weakness or laughter, but a story of fear, respect, and awe. Species that once mocked humans now spoke their name with caution. Children of alien worlds whispered about the human soldier who defeated armies with scraps and bare hands. Entire empires began to wonder if the rise of humanity could be stopped, or if it was already too late. The golden-scaled leader called a secret meeting with the other rulers. He told them the truth he had feared to admit. "We laughed at humans," he said, his voice heavy. "But laughter is gone. Now we must choose, stand against them, or stand beside them. Because the age of humans has begun." In the shadows of the chamber, the historian smiled. His prophecy had come true. The galaxy had finally seen what he had always known. The fragile body of a human was not weak. It was the perfect tool for something greater. Their brains, their hands, their will, together, they created victory where none should exist. And somewhere in the stars, the human soldier looked ahead into the endless darkness of space. His journey was not finished. More battles would come. More empires would rise against his kind. But he was ready. Humanity was ready. He raised his scarred hands once more, clenched them into fists, and whispered words that would echo across the galaxy. They laughed at humans. But now, they will never laugh again. The stars burned brighter, as if the universe itself had heard. The age of laughter was over. The age of humanity had begun.